Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take your sources, stack them up, and deliver a fast-tracked understanding. Today, we're diving into a skin issue that is just frustratingly common and often so hard to pin down: contact dermatitis. You know, if you've ever had that mysterious rash show up, you immediately start that guessing, is it the new soap, my belt buckle, something I touched 2 days ago. We've got sources covering everything from the chemical triggers hiding their cleaning supplies to a really clear action plan for what to do next. Our mission here is to give you that clarity. We want you to understand the difference between, say, an immediate chemical burn and a delayed immune protest so you can actually find the source.
And that's the perfect place to start. So, a core definition. Contact dermatitis is, simply put, skin inflammation. It's caused by direct contact with something external, either an irritant or an allergen. And this results in that visible rash we all know. Redness, itching, swelling, maybe even blisters or peeling. And the key thing to know right from the top is that managing it is all about prevention. It really starts and ends with identifying and then just avoiding the source.
Okay, let's unpack that right away, because irritant and allergen, they sound similar, but they're not synonyms here. They describe two totally different things happening to your skin. For anyone trying to solve this mystery for themselves, getting the difference between irritant contact dermatitis, or ICD, and allergic contact dermatitis, ACD, that's step one.
It is. They are two completely different pathways to skin damage, which is, fascinating from a biological standpoint. So irritant contact dermatitis, ICD, is basically direct physical damage. It's when a harsh substance like a strong detergent or a solvent physically breaks down the skin's protective barrier.
It's like a brute force attack on your skin?
Exactly. It strips away the oils and lipids. And because of that, the timeline is fast. Symptoms pop up within minutes, maybe a few hours after you touch it. The rash usually stays right where the contact happened, and the feeling.
Oh.
It's less about itching and more of a distinct burning or stinging. You get that tight, cracked skin feeling.
So if I spill a strong cleaner on my hand and it immediately starts stinging and turns red, that's ICD, a direct hit happening right now.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Now let's contrast that with allergic contact dermatitis, or ACD. This is not a chemical burn. This is your immune system launching a full-blown but delayed response.
Yeah.
Your body has been exposed to something before, like nickel or a fragrance, and it's become sensitized to it. It's flagged it as an enemy.
And that's where the timing gets so tricky.
Yes. The critical thing here is the delay. The reaction doesn't show up for 24 to 48 hours after you've touched the allergen.
So that's why it's so hard to play detective. You're blaming the hand cream you just put on, but the real culprit was the earring you wore yesterday.
That's the classic scenario. Your immune system has basically created a wanted poster for that substance. The first time you touched it, maybe nothing happened, but your T cells logged it. Now, any future exposure, even a tiny amount, triggers this big delayed protest where those cells rush to the site and cause all that inflammation.
And you said the rash can spread with ACD. How does that work?
Right, because the entire immune system is involved. The rash can sometimes creep beyond the exact point of contact. The inflammation just moves along the surrounding skin that's also been sensitized.
Okay, that makes sense. So with that foundation, let's talk about the visible signs. What should someone actually be looking for on their skin?
Well, the spectrum is pretty wide. It often starts with the basics. You'll see redness, which is the inflammation, persistent, often intense itching, and some localized swelling. In more severe cases, especially with allergic reactions, you might see blistering, little fluid-filled sacs.
And those can break, right?
They often do. And when they rupture, they crust over. That leaves the skin pretty vulnerable to a secondary infection, which is a big risk. You'll also see just extreme dryness, flakiness, and sometimes painful cracks or fissures in the skin. That's really common with chronic irritant dermatitis where the barrier is just shot.
So the big question everyone has, how long does this last?
In general, a single episode of contact dermatitis will last somewhere between 1 and 3 weeks.
Okay.
If you catch it early, say, you realize pretty quickly it was the new soap and you stop using it, a mild case can start getting better in just 2 or 3 days.
But what if you don't? What if the exposure keeps happening?
Well, that's when it can really linger. If the contact continues or the reaction was really bad to begin with, that rash could stick around for up to 2 months. It can lead to the skin getting kind of thick and leathery over time.
You mentioned spreading earlier. If a rash starts to spread, isn't there a risk a doctor might think it's something internal, like an autoimmune issue? How do you tell the difference?
That's a great question. While a systemic problem causes widespread issues, the spread with ACD is usually still connected to that original site. It might follow the line of a watch band or where a lotion was rubbed. It's really just the immune cells activating in the surrounding tissue. And the biggest clue, if the rash completely goes away once the trigger is removed, that points very strongly back to it being contact dermatitis.
Got it. Okay, now that we have the mechanisms down, let's get into the culprits. Our sources laid out 9 of the most common triggers. Let's run through them.
Yeah, let's do it. We can start with the classic irritants, the things that cause that direct chemical damage, the ICD. First up, harsh soaps and detergents. Their surfactants just strip away all your natural oils. You see this a lot on hands and forearms.
Right, makes sense.
Then you have solvents like acetone or rubbing alcohol. They dissolve the skin's protective lipids really fast. And finally, corrosive cleaning agents. We're talking about strong disinfectants, bleach, things that can cause an immediate chemical burn.
So if you work in, say, healthcare or food service, you're just constantly washing your hands, using sanitizers. You're hitting these irritants all day long.
All day. And in that case, it's the frequency and concentration.
Okay.
Repeated, low-level exposure is often worse than one big splash because the skin barrier never gets a chance to fully repair itself.
That makes sense. Okay, what about the other side? The allergens that trigger that delayed ACD response.
Right, so a huge one is metals, and specifically nickel. It's in so much stuff. Jewelry, zippers, coins, even eyeglass frames. Then, of course, plants. Poison ivy is the most famous example. It releases an oil called urushiol.
What's so special about urushiol? Is it just a sticky sap, or is there something about its chemistry that makes it so potent?
It's the chemistry. Urushiol is a tiny, oily molecule, so it sinks into the skin very easily. Once it's in there, it actually binds to your skin's proteins. Right. Yeah, and it creates this new structure that your immune system sees as a major foreign threat. That deep penetration and binding is why the delayed reaction is so intense. Next up, personal care products. 2 giant categories here: fragrances, both natural and synthetic, and chemical preservatives like parabens or formaldehyde releasers.
Darn everything.
Everything. Shampoo, makeup, lotion. They're a leading cause of dermatitis on the face and hands. And finally, a couple of specialized allergens. Rubber or latex, so think gloves or elastic bands, and hair dyes, specifically a chemical called paraphenylenediamine or PPD.
Is PPD like urushiol? Does its structure make it a bigger problem?
Very similar principle. PPD is also a very small molecule, so it penetrates the skin of the scalp really deeply. It works great as a permanent dye, but it's also a powerful sensitizer. Once your immune system flags it, any future exposure can cause a severe, fast-spreading rash on the scalp, neck, and ears.
That breakdown is so helpful for avoidance. Okay, let's pivot to the actionable advice. We figured out there's a problem. What's the immediate plan for relief and prevention?
Right, so the sources give us a really solid 10-step plan. We can sort of group them into immediate relief and long-term repair.
I like that. Let's start with immediate relief.
The first 6 steps are for that. Step 1, and this is the most important, identify and remove the trigger. Get it off your skin. 2, cleanse the area gently with a mild soap and lukewarm water to get rid of any residue. 3, apply a cold compress. This is great for soothing that initial irritation and swelling. 4, use a barrier cream, something with zinc oxide or a thick emollient, to shield the damaged skin. 5, take an oral antihistamine to help manage the itching, especially with ACD. And 6, apply a topical steroid, a low-potency cortisone cream, to control the inflammation.
Okay, let's pause there. So those first 6 steps are all crisis management. It's about stopping the burn, calming the reaction right now. What about the long game? How do we actually repair the damage?
That's where the next steps come in. 7, moisturize regularly. And I mean with a thick, fragrance-free cream. This is critical for rebuilding that broken skin barrier. 8, avoid scratching. I can't stress this enough. Scratching just invites a bacterial infection.
Easier said than done when it's that itchy.
It is, but it's crucial. 9 is to monitor the healing and keep an eye on it. And finally, 10, consult a dermatologist if it's severe, not getting better after, say, 3 weeks, or if you just can't figure out the trigger.
It sounds like patience is a big part of the recovery. Once you start this process, what are the actual stages of healing? What should you expect to see?
You'll see a clear progression. First is the acute inflammation, the redness and heat. That can lead to blistering, especially in a bad allergic reaction. Then the repair phase starts. You'll see peeling, which is just the body shedding the damaged top layer of skin. After that comes crusting, where any fluid from blisters or sores hardens.
So wait, seeing that crust isn't necessarily a sign of infection. It can be a good thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not always bad. It's the body's natural bandage protecting the new skin underneath. It's part of the process. The final stage is drying, where the texture starts to return to normal, although it might stay a bit discolored for a while. Knowing those stages can prevent a lot of anxiety.
And the best way to prevent this long term is a real diagnosis, right? How is that done, especially for ACD?
It starts with a good medical history and a physical exam. But the gold standard for confirming an allergic trigger is patch testing. This is where a dermatologist applies tiny amounts of common allergens to your back under little patches. You wear them for about 48 hours.
And then they check for a reaction.
They check for a reaction at 48 hours and again at 72 or 96 hours. A little red bumpy spot under one of the patches confirms exactly what you're allergic to. That specificity is just invaluable for future avoidance.
Our sources mention facial dermatitis specifically. Why is the face such a common spot for this?
The skin on the face is just thinner and more delicate, so it's more reactive. Reactions there often show up faster and look more dramatic. The triggers are usually things we apply directly: cosmetics, fragrances and cleansers, or even the nickel and eyeglass frames.
And when does this cross the line? When should you absolutely see a doctor?
You should go immediately. If the symptoms are severe, if the rash is spreading really fast, if you have painful blisters, or if you see signs of infection like pus, increasing pain, or a fever. And critically, if it lasts longer than 3 weeks, even after you've tried to remove the trigger and use over-the-counter creams, you need professional help.
To put all this in context, it's probably helpful to compare it to something else people might confuse it with, like psoriasis.
Yes, that's a key distinction. Contact dermatitis is a battle with the outside world. Psoriasis is a chronic, immune-mediated condition. It's an internal issue where the body's immune system tells skin cells to grow way too fast. So psoriasis shows up as these thick, silvery or white plaques with very sharp borders, often on the elbows, knees, or scalp. And while both can be red, psoriasis plaques are usually more painful and require long-term therapies that target the immune system, not just avoiding a trigger.
That comparison really clarifies it. CD is an external event, not a chronic internal illness. So what does this all mean for you, our listener? The key takeaway is this. Contact dermatitis is all about the timing. An immediate burn is an irritant or ICD. A delayed, super itchy reaction 24 to 48 hours later, that's your immune system protesting ACD. Knowing that timeline is your single most powerful tool for finding the culprit.
And if we zoom out a bit, it brings up a really interesting question for you to think about. If allergic contact dermatitis is a memory-based immune response to common things like nickel or fragrances, how many of the everyday products we use are subtly training our immune systems, slowly sensitizing us and shifting our baseline reactivity to the world over decades of low-level exposure? It suggests that maybe avoidance isn't just a treatment, but a long-term strategy for keeping our immune response stable.
A perfect, thought-provoking idea to end on. Thank you for sharing your sources with us, and we hope you feel better equipped to handle your skin health. We'll see you next time on Deep Dive.